I love it. The second you figure zoom out, they're like, this is honestly the thing about life in general, I feel. I think that this place is a fuck around, find out, but also it's checking you constantly to see if you're paying attention to like where the lines are, where the boundaries are, and all that kind of shit. And it'll move things around on you. They've been doing this with the national citizen sort of thing. They've moved around laws and UCC codes and things like this to sort of hide the awareness that you don't have to be a slave in a system anymore. And so, and you never were, you were just signing up for it actually. And so you figure that out and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they're like, ah, shit. Okay, well here. And they kind of move things around and hide stuff, but I think it's just this realm, right? There was this quote by Gauthier who, it's on the Path to Freedom website, and it just mentions straight and clear, freedom is an active sport. And it's just like this. Like the second I think I get Zoom figured out and I get comfortable with it, it changes. And then I'm like, right before I go to hit record. And it's just like anything in this realm. It just sort of tweaks a little bit and says, are you paying attention? And I think it's like never been more important to sort of heed this small, minute, anal retentive detail to this realm is this sort of, are you paying attention? I think it's an interesting time. Welcome, everybody. Frequency Theorists, 17 or so, I believe, but a whole new, panel of faces. Ryan is unable to make it with us. Grim Reaper is just flying all over his zip code right now, and so we're going to let the people who are passing pass and rest in power, and we send Ryan all the love, and just grateful for everybody that is here. Got a few folks still trickling in, joining. But it's so good to see everybody. If you want the new folks here, just say hi. And if you're new, this is obvious, but say hi, just introduce yourself if you don't mind. And Paul, a special hello for your solar return. Again, you get a Howard Dean scream for that accomplishment, buddy. You made it another round, dude. Congratulations. That ruined that man's career, but I hope we bring him back to life. I hope he comes on, becomes a buddy, all that kind of stuff. We'll see. Anyway, we'll start with you, Paul, man. Happy solar return, dude. How's it going?
Really, really good. So it's Monday morning here in Brisbane. It's really good to be back with everyone again. I've really enjoyed connecting. I'm a musician producer who lives in Brisbane. So I live in a place called Sandgate, which is in a bay area on the northern side of Brisbane. So I'm about 100 meters from the water. I just live in paradise. I feel very lucky. So I live in a beautiful area near the water. I produce music. I've got two kids. I've got a 19-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old son who both love music as well. And they know their dad's a bit of a weird-ass motherfucker, and I'm into everything that's paranormal and out of the ordinary. And every time I meet up with friends, they like to share how weird I am to them. So that's really fun. So it's good to be it's good to be amongst other weirdos. I've got friends that see fifth dimensional. I've got friends that see fifth dimensional beings. I've got friends that talk to snakes. I've got a very eclectic group of people. But I feel quite normal amongst them. But yeah, my inner circle is off the planet, and it's really exciting. I feel very grateful and fortunate. That's it.
Beautiful. I want to talk to your buddy that talks to snakes. Is he like Steve Irwin, where he's like, you're all right, mate? Or he's like, that snake told me his lineage and he's not cool with you building your garden there. You know what I mean?
Well, I affectionately call this friend Snake Lady, and everyone gets the wrong connotations when I say that. She does animal rescue. So she's a volunteer, and she's on call 24/7. So she does like snakes, reptiles. She had ducks recently. So animals that have been where the parent has been killed, maybe in an electrical accident or run over by a car, or humans have done horrible things to them. Like there was a snake, a python, a 2-meter python recently that had been, I won't go into graphic detail, but a human had harmed it and she had to go and euthanize it. And she's very intuitive, and she can hear and talk to like beings on the other side, and she's been doing that for years. And she coaches spirit people from the other side for me. Like she gets downloads for them for me. But in context to the snakes, like when she meets them, if they've been injured, she'll talk to them before she picks them up, and if she has to put them down, she communicates with them. So I made a joke one day and asked if she spoke parcel tongue. But she does speak to animals, and she speaks to beings on the other side. And we regularly go to these full moon meditations near where I live, and she can see portals in the sky. And I was finding it really hard to believe once, and she started taking photos and messaging me the next day, and I could actually see them in the photos. But when I was sitting next to her, I couldn't see what she could see in the sky. So she's off the planet. Like she's really, really unusual. And when I talked about, she channels like spirits that want to give me information and stuff. Like they know when I'm doing work. And so if I catch up with her and she said, "Oh, you haven't done that exercise. They told me you're not doing that properly," or I think, "Oh my god, this sounds a bit creepy,"
They call
but it's
you
really
out.
cool. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't. I
Damn.
don't. I never tell her. I never lie in front of her because she can just read me. It's like I've got a book above my head and she can see any updates, like so she can see the energy above my head. It's hard to explain. So if I haven't done the work, she'll actually get a download and she'll be very, very specific about the task I'm doing and where I'm getting it wrong from the download. And it's unbelievable. I feel very gifted and very lucky to have people around here, people like that around me helping me.
Fucking A. Well, that's awesome, dude. I love that. And I talk to my plants, like, as I'm cutting them, and they're not weed or anything. I'm not growing that yet. It's like my monsteras are banging, guys. I got these awesome moss stripper poles that I make for them, by hand and everything. Anyway, they're crushing it. And whenever I go to cut them or trim them or any of the plants, I talk to them. I'm like, hey, I'm going to take this branch right here. I'm going to cut right here. It's all going to be cool. So I think that there is something to this, and especially just communicating with the things around you. I do it just outside on the ranch here. I'm like, dude, this is a danger right here. It's got spikes and shit. I'm going to cut it. And, I feel better for having communication, right? Because that's the first rule of business. And we're conducting business in any degree. It's just sort of an integration of energies, right? To any degree for exchange. Then this exchange of energy, I'm going to be in full communication about. It's important. So I dig it, dude. I'm grateful that I asked because you brought up a really cool last thing. Also want to shout out a couple of folks that are here, some new folks. Anybody want to just step up that's new and say hi? Gabe, what's up, dude?
Thanks for having me, Brandon. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing well, and I have a little piece of you on me right now, actually. This is the last remaining one. Mine has gone to the universe somehow, and Mary let me borrow hers. I need it more, she said. And so thank you very much, dude. Good to see you.
You're welcome. And that's totally common for that to happen, by the way. All pocket
I lost
stones.
it 5 times.
That's totally
lost
normal.
And found. Lost and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And found it in weird places. The dog's mouth out in the labyrinth, the dryer twice, the car once, like in the driveway, weird places, dude, 5 times.
Well, it's a good thing you got it out of the dog before it went
I mean,
through
immediately.
there.
I was like, what are you doing? She was like, here you go, dude.
Well, that's very cool. Glad you found it again. And I know you'll lose it again, but then you'll find it yet again. So
we're looking forward to following your process. Free on your website, all the ways to find everybody linked down below, guys. Free on the website, how to make these amazing organite pieces, thekimbo.com.
Or these organite
Yeah, we
pieces.
have a ton. We have the pyramid. We have something outside here. We've got it all around us. We've noticed a difference in growth and cats and everything. But we're looking forward to being able to make these to send them out with folks, like with journals and stuff like that. So we're looking forward, dude. You guys have a really cool thing going on. Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely. And we look forward to being on your show again whenever you can to talk about. We just scratched the surface last time. It was super cool. And we can't wait to do it again.
You guys are so cool. I printed your partner's book back here, and I've been going through that thing like crazy, man. The weather, just everything about it. You guys are just such a wealth of information on any different topic we want to talk about.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we have
Thank
a ton of stuff
much
to talk about here.
And Sharon sends her regards to you specifically, by the way.
Oh, tell her I said hello, please. She's wonderful.
Absolutely.
You guys are incredible. And you've got a cool musician story as well, a tryout that we're going to get back to. We'll tease now, introduce a couple folks, and come back.
I wouldn't say it's very interesting, but
I think it's cool because it's a cosmic thing. It's what brings you here. And we've sort of each got stories like that, honestly, which I think that you'll find more interesting than not. So, Ben, do you want to go next, or Amethyst, or Adriana's here? Hey.
I can go.
Ben, break it off, dude.
All right, dude. Thank you for having me here. Am I coming through, by the way?
You look and sound phenomenal, fella.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, I'm. Those are my books. Thank you. I've written a few books about cryptozoology. I am absolutely fascinated with the unknown and the undiscovered things in the world. And I also do we have a YouTube channel where we do some ghost hunting, some Bigfoot hunting, some stuff like that. So, it's great to be here. And to follow up about what the last guy was saying about talking to animals, it reminded me of something. So when I was in the 6th middle school, we had an animal psychic come and talk to my middle school class. And this animal psychic, according to her, so animals don't use like language like we do. They communicate with emotion and images. Animals like your cat, your dog, they're very like visual and emotional. So according to the psychic, if you are sensitive to these things, like you can try to project an image with an emotion to your cat or your dog, or you can receive that emotion. And, all animals and all beings out here can do this to some extent. And I believe it's one of those things where everyone has this ability, but we just don't pay enough attention to it. Like all creatures on this earth probably are to some extent capable of this. And it's one of those things where we're too bombarded with information normally to really have that ability. I know that I don't whatsoever, but I think it's a real thing. I absolutely believe people can talk to snakes. Like, it's not like you're talking in English, but you can have a communication with anything out there. And that's basically what I was thinking about. Anyway,
it's all connected. It's all connected and all badass. And yes, absolutely. Again, guys, his book, and he's working on a third. You've also been in a documentary with Nate from Realities Are, right? Did you guys join forces and do some really cool shit?
Yeah, we do some ghost hunting, some Bigfoot hunting. And speaking of that whole theme, our whole Bigfoot thing, we went into it with the hypothesis that if Bigfoot is real, Bigfoot is psychic. Bigfoot has abilities we don't comprehend. And I think that any kind of non-human intelligence, whatever it is, if it's a Bigfoot, a ghost, a spirit, like everything that has consciousness has this ability for ESP, telepathy. And I'll tell you guys, I usually am very I can't pick up on much in daily life, but the one time in my entire life where I was I 100% absolutely had a psychic premonition had to have been, not to be a bit of a downer, but it had to have been the day before 9/11. I was probably in the 6th grade. I just got this dreadful, horrible feeling that something terrible was about to happen. I was struck with that. It overwhelmed me. And I don't know. I don't think it was a coincidence because, I mean, that happens from time to time to everyone, but this was something else. And I think it was probably the one case I've ever had of that happening. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever had stuff like that happen to you or not.
The 9/11's fascinating because a bunch of random number generators stopped generating numbers randomly and went succinct for a little while, right around 9/11, right when it was happening. And so, this, awareness of things happening ahead of time, big energetic shifts, right? We know that animals are in tune to this with giant geological shifts. If a tsunami's coming, they all start shagging ass uphill like the day before. They're like, what the hell's going on with these dogs, right? It's fascinating, man. You're tuned into something dope, like a homing pigeon, man. You got some metal in your head, but in a good way. More of like a crystal, which is really cool. You're like, something's amiss. Like Paul's friend who can see stuff that he can't. Like, you're just tuned into some shit. I think it's really, really cool. And we're all sort of like these really neat little elements that can add color and texture and perspective and layer. Like we're each like a layer of paper that is colored differently, that when laid flat all together creates like a really cool image. Remember in Iron Man 1, right? That's how he made the Iron Man. He had all those transparent papers that he laid down and it had different pieces, but when you put them all out, we're onto something there. Amethyst, what's up, dude? Good to see you, man.
Yo, peace. Thank you so much for having me, Brandon.
Dude, you're so welcome. It's fucking cool shit to see you. Ryan Sprague, shout out. He's a brother of ours, mutual brother. We're both Virgo, so happy moon sign right now, dudes. You're not touching your junk either? Good for you, bro. Yeah.
I only been drinking water for 36 plus hours. So
I'm not to your level of it yet. I've just put it down, so I feel good about it. But yeah, happy moon sign, man. We're both doing this. Anybody want some crypto advice? This guy right here is a free masterclass. Amazing dude. This is your man right here. So Amethyst, man, thanks for joining us, brother.
Oh, I'm so stoked to be here. And yeah, crypto Web3 is definitely an interest of mine, but I approach it from the way in which we're all speaking about here is that there are certain principles that create this reality we exist in. And that whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, or even digital, those principles apply to the same spaces. I don't know if anybody's aware or not, but they have actually uploaded binary code to DNA and then downloaded it back again into the same file format. Microsoft is working on DNA hard drives. So if the DNA is the biologic quantum supercomputer, where is its mirror? And I see that in Web3 and blockchain coming out. So do I know about a lot of coins that are probably going to 10x in the bull run? Absolutely. Is that where my interest lies? Partially, but what I'm really here for is stewardship, because I'm a father and I know that if I'm not active in these spaces right now and not helping others get active who are here in a good way with good long-term vision and awareness around things like Bigfoot being a multidimensional creature that can shift in and out of reality along ley lines on the earth grid that also receives the energy from the sun, then what am I doing here as a father? So it's amazing to be able to be in these spaces with people like this where I drop in and the first conversation I hear is about talking with snakes and medicine and Bigfoot. And lately I've been developing my own with insects, particularly ones that fly into the house and I get them to fly out of the window just by saying, look, it looks so much nicer out there, and kind of connect it. Like, it's not English, right? It's just like connecting visually with what the outcome is. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to harm you. You're annoying the crap out of me right now. And both of us would be happier if you were outside. So let's just visualize you flying out that way. So on that note, I want to give a big shout out to my brother Brandon here, because I didn't know who he was before Ryan introduced us. And once I learned who he was and I started to dive into his show and then I got on the show with him, there's not a lot of people I know in my earthly experience that could converse in the level and the breadth of subjects that Brandon can. So I want to give him a big tip of my hat here for being a hub and a connector to bring people together to communicate, collaborate, and co-create. With that, I'm all in.
Beautifully received, brother. Guys, link down below.
Well
again.
said.
Link down below. This dude passes the shit out of the vibe chat. You already know this. I mean, I don't have to pre-warn this, but dude, thank you so much, man, for being here. This is so cool. And a dope-ass musician as well. Again, this is really, really cool. The breadth and scale of talent and interest and genius that's sitting right here. It's just absolutely mesmerizing and remarkable. Kate, I know that you've been here a couple times, but you haven't really, participated. It seems like you have something to say today with that smile. So how are you?
Yeah, I thought I would make it on time and actually introduce myself for once. So yeah, I'm Kate. I met Brandon at a really cool event a couple years ago. And so he started including me in this with the moon conversation, which may have just been the last one. And that was really great. And yeah, I don't know what to say about myself. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally, but I'm now kind of going between Kansas and Idaho. So I feel like I'm all over the place. And I'm a speech language pathologist by profession. So technically I am a communication expert. So I second what was just said. It's my professional opinion that Brandon is really good at communication. And
it's so sweet. It's so sweet.
I have always enjoyed music. So I do feel that I can fit in here, even though I don't create music professionally and I'm not participating even as an amateur right now, but I used to love choir in high school and I still sing along in the car all the time. So yeah, nice to meet all of you.
Outstanding. So cool you're here. Guys, this is wonderful. We've made the new rounds, and guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out. Honestly, I feel this is awesome, and yeah, we'll probably take this in some pretty wild directions today as it goes, as you were, right? But Mark Ali, what have you been up to, man? You look a little fresh. You look a little more aerodynamic. You want to talk about it?
Oh dear, yeah. I just, I'd spent 3 years growing my beard because I wrote that book on King Arthur, and I thought, if you're going to promote something like that, you're going to have to look like Merlin to do it. So, it wasn't just PR either, because both my electric razors broke on the same day. So, if that's not a sign,
that's a sign from God. Yeah,
of course. And then this year, my second youngest son bought me a razor, so I can do all the beard trimming things now. It was interesting what you were saying about snakes. I'd never encountered snakes or reptiles till my adopted daughter bought one about 6 years ago. She bought this little tiny corn snake. Called it bootlace because it just looked like a bootlace. Its real name's Ramstein because it's now a 5 foot long corn snake. It's this whopping great big thing. But no word of a lie, they communicate. They really do. They absolutely. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. Never seen anything like it before. She was upset one day. She was crying, and the snake curled up and started taking the tears away with its tongue. I've never seen anything like it. And it was obvious that it knew what it was doing. It was comforting her. So that is one of those animals where we're all like, whoa, snakes, whoa, I can't go near a snake. I know it's only a corn snake, but, there's something going on. There's something, talking about psychic links and communications and vibes and emotions. And, if you're putting something out there, it's picking up on that, I've known that for years because I rescue crows, and I can do it with crows, and I can do it with cats, and I can do it with dogs. And, but for snakes, reptiles, that was a fantastic eye opener, I'll tell you. Absolutely fantastic. So Ramstein is still here. He's in his tank upstairs, curled up asleep because it's a bit cold over here at the moment. But, I thought I'd share that because totally, absolutely, first-hand experience of seeing it in action. You just wouldn't believe it. And he does curl up and sit on my knee as well, which is unusual for a snake. He's incredibly friendly. Beautiful colour as well. He's a sort of a creamy white colour, but all the patterns on him are orange. So he's a beautiful thing to see. Fantastic. And not cold or slimy like people, who've never encountered them imagine. He's quite silky. But now, apart from that, I'm just book writing, beardless and book writing over here in the UK, because of course I'm between Manchester and Liverpool in northern England. So it's nice to see Paul from Australia as well. We're coming in from everywhere. Look out, Brandon, the rest of the world's coming.
I love it. I embrace you fully. I'm here for all this. This is the expansion of it, guys. You're on every corner. I tell you, we grew, out of the fertilizer of the bullshit, the parents, the whatever, the fact that we exist as something way different than anything else around us. That produces diamonds, man. We were squeezed out in our locale area. Zoom just happened to go, hey, about time you motherfuckers connect, and we're going to send Mark a razor when it's time for him to shave, and he's going to understand that. And then, this is why also I've been called, like Ben has as well, and a lot of others too. Amethyst, you've been all over this, at all of you guys, the getting together, where now it's like we were fertilized. The analogy I like to use is it's a beautiful garden, and we were fertilized with the shit around us, right, that comes and goes, dies off, doesn't last, blah, blah, blah. And then we grow into this beautiful, huge flower, and we can all see each other now. Now we're pretty separated out or whatever, but we all know that we went through some shit and got fertilized to get this tall to get to each other. So now it's much easier to connect because there's much fewer of you. It's just easy to spot quicker. It's like, aha. It's like with Amethyst, with Gabe, with any of you guys, Paul, Adam, Evan, anybody, instant connect. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this just makes sense. And it's so much like it's like in Austin Powers when they're walking at the front of it and everybody joins in on the dance, and they're just like, yeah, of course you know all the steps and you're here, and of course you know all the steps and you're here. It's like unrealistic, but this is exactly what's happened, right? It's a whole chorus line, and we're all just sort of, yeah, of course you know the steps and you're here. Hey, Amethyst, of course you know the steps and you're here, and enhance everything and make it better and more beautiful, and it's yes ands across the board. It's been a wild ride to get here, guys. But again, I know this based on. Because you are here, you were fertilized. It's not even a question. So it's like, yeah, duh. There's no like weeding out process that I feel I need to do. It's very obvious and clear. If you're in my path, this is what's going on, and the same is true for all of y'all. You feel this as well. It's just awesome, dude. So what do you guys think about this world, about animals, like in general, like them being in our reality? Like, is this an enhancement to this place? Are they here for us to domain above them? What do y'all think animals' roles in our relationship with them is?
Can I kick off with a thought? Because I kind of ended the last bit. I'll start the next bit and you guys can run with it. What if the entire planet, the whole of planet Earth, everything, just everything that's alive, what happens if it all talks to each other and communicates, and the only person that's left out is us? What happens if we're the only ones that just don't get it? You know, it's almost as if that's where we're at, you know? When we stretch out, when we make the effort, we're a part of it. We can't escape it. I did a book on the Green Man, all about that life energy that's, you know, inherent in everything. But what happens if it's all talking? It could all be talking about us. Time to be a bit paranoid, maybe. I wonder what it's saying. But what happens if that's going on and we're only out of it because we're out of it? That's how we choose to be. What do folks think? I'm throwing it out there. Off you go.
Now we're talking, right?
Yeah.
And this can also
I
from
could chime in for a sec.
Please, Paul. Yeah.
Just a couple of things quickly. Like, so if the subject is like, what role do the animals play in it? There's the basic level, like their companionship. That's one thing. But I was listening to, I don't know how you pronounce his name, probably Eckhart Tolle. I've been going through a couple of his books recently. Yeah. And he was talking about ducks, and he was saying, you know, when humans have an interaction, they get angry and they go away and they think about their angry incident and they just grow on it and they get angry and angry. And he said, when a duck has a fight with another duck, they flap their wings, get rid of the negative energy, and they go their own separate way. So my message in that, or the message from Eckhart, is that animals are teachers to us. So the duck flaps its wings, gets rid of its angry energy and goes to its corner of the pond and gets on with it. But humans like to keep ruminating on anger and growing that anger. So, yeah, animals can be teachers to us in that way. And also, if you look at a symbol like the snake or the eagle, which are very iconic ones, you know, if someone's going through a bad period, eagles might appear in their life and it's time to soar. And the eagle has this special aspects about the eye and the way they hunt in there. And the snake is often referenced in symbology to things like fertility. So at one level, I think the animals are teachers to us. So I'll put that to the conversation.
I really like that, because at the end of the day, if you're angry or you hate somebody or, you know, that whole sort of negative energy thing, ultimately, nobody else knows. The only person it's destroying is you.
Yeah.
You know, how self-destructive is that?
Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think nature's always talking to us. Have you guys ever seen that film, The Power of One, from that Bryce Courtney book?
Yeah.
So there's a really famous scene in that film, and I digress just for a second, but there's a scene in the film where the key character is trying to build up a response to apartheid in South Africa. And he's only one boxer, and he thinks, what can I do? And he has this spiritual teacher from when he was a child, this Afrikaner, and he said, whenever you need a lesson, you go to nature. So the character goes to a waterfall and he says, well, that waterfall starts with a drop of water. I'm going to be the drop of water. So nature was talking to him, and he looked at the waterfall, and the waterfall spoke to him and said, you be the drop of water that starts the waterfall of ending, you know, the apartheid issues in South Africa. So I think that nature broadly is always speaking to us and a teacher to us, and animals are a conduit to that.
Beautiful.
If I may, I really agree with your guys' idea that animals are kind of the best teachers. And if you think about it, like every different animal out there exemplifies certain qualities that they have perfected that we haven't. For example, like a dog, loyalty, unconditional love. Think about like a alligator or something. Think about the patience that they have to sit in one spot and wait and wait and wait. And speaking of snakes, I would like to introduce you guys.
Wait, did he just pull a snake out? Oh my god!
So
watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
I love this.
I gotta go on a little rant here. I believe that snakes are extremely misunderstood creatures. I think they have been unfairly demonized by especially the Judeo-Christian religion. And I kid you not, I am a big believer in this whole idea of animal communication, psychic abilities. And this guy, he has all the same emotions. Like I can sense when he is scared, when he's happy, when he's hungry. It's really interesting. The snakes are actually, well, not all snakes. It's one thing to have a very healthy fear and respect for snakes because sure they can be dangerous, but ball pythons, that's what he is. They're the most docile animals you could ever imagine. The only time that they would attack or strike you is when they are feeding and they get the scent of prey. They go after motion because they can't see very well. So, yeah, I have been scratched and bit by my cat more times than I can count, and I have never been harmed by this little snake right here. So there you go.
They eat vermin, don't they?
Rats and mice, yeah.
I got something I could add in here, kind of building on what everybody's been saying, and it's like I heard brother with Ben here with the python around his neck talking about how animals have been demonized or dominion over them according to certain centralized religious sources. And what I feel that we're talking about here and has been talked about a long time on Earth by people who are tapped in and know is that animals are like, and I actually think I heard Ryan and Brandon talking about this on his podcast about the importance of authenticity. Right. And I feel like animals are the absolute authentic expression of themselves in the earthly plane. And of course, us humans here with our minds thinking we know all this stuff, forget what it actually means to be in right relations to everything else. And when we look at like who has the biggest brain and who's actually living in harmony with Earth, I mean, I start thinking about whales and I start thinking about dolphins and they're just laughing at us like, look at you little cousins thinking that you're going to somehow change the way things are with your mind. Like we're over here singing songs and moving according to the earth's rhythms. So, I feel like there's a lot to these places telling us to have dominion over animals instead of actually communion with them. Like being able to be in communion, I've heard of different cultures talking about praying and seeing the kill before it happens, praying to the spirit of the animal. And all that's just been taken out. And I love what I see in the chat. The whale song is also scalar. Yeah. So that's what I want to share right there, y'all. Yeah, frequency.
Beautiful.
Can I chime in?
Please.
So first off, thank you for introducing me to these new people. So,
all right.
And I just want to mirror that because what everybody said about being connected to a weird group of thinkers that have a different lens. And it really is, as everybody's nodding and not necessarily like in agreement, like just going with sheep what the other people are saying, but just have the openness to hear the other person's perspective, whatever way that they're, coming to it. So I appreciate that. And the genuine smile, and bring up that water, authentic, as everybody's smiling, as they're nodding their head, it's like, this doesn't have to be forced down anybody's throat. This is all stuff that we've all experienced. But everybody's life kind of, unfolds 2020 hindsight. I studied insects for almost 7 years. So I was working on like West Nile virus and Tripoli, and I left doing, like 400, 500, 600 level classes. And when I left college, I knew less about insects than when I first started because I had way more questions than I had answers. And it's like the more and more you know about them, the more and more, you're amazed. And now kind of studying these altered states of being consciousness in these DMT realms and like, trying to speak with gods and spirits and things like that. It's like this complete spectrum. And it mirrors what everybody else is saying, which is there is this universal field of information and energy. And we as humans are probably one of the dumbest when it comes to sensory inputs, or maybe not dumbest, but I mean, we only have five dullest. Yeah, absolutely. We have five very basic senses. And if you don't work on, finding those other inherent senses, which I agree we all do have, but yeah, it takes some work, but we are all connected. And I kind of agree that, so the gentleman that said he kind of interacts with insects, I've been doing that for literally my entire life, going up to the gnarliest looking hornets and bees and wasps and like spiders that people would never touch, and they're not going to fuck with you if you're not putting off bad energy towards them. I've never once been fucked with unless you're weed whacking their nest or something like that, but they'll pick up on the energy you give out, and I think that's a lesson that we can all apply to everyday life.
Fucking awesome. Butler's DMT Field Guide will be linked down below, or how to find Adam will be linked down below. Go check out his book, guys. Learn how to make your own and experiment with your own. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, yeah, we plug everybody. It's love. Love, 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 love. What did the DMT gods say about insects? Have you connected the two and asked them what that's all about?
The last session I had, there was this like mantis-looking entity type deal, but it was more just visual than insect. I think it's more kind of what we were just saying. It just how our senses are refined and tuned differently depending on species, all through the gamut of animals and plants, and mushrooms. Don't forget mushrooms. Like the mycelium connections are supposed to be one of the most communicative and intricate. But yeah, it's just what lens is each species looking through, and that's what I'm going to dedicate, I know, the rest of my life. And it sounds like you and all your guests, it's like what else is beyond these five senses, whether it's a flow state induced by music, whether it's a DMT trip, whether it's whatever, vibing out to sound therapy, but there's way more information.
Yeah, it's almost like everything except us knows how to fit in. It all has its place and it all works and it's all functioning. And we don't, as human beings.
But we're getting there. There is that shift.
Yeah, we're like, yeah, that's the future, isn't it? The future is
it's conversations like this, and the younger generation. Forward. The more and more I speak with the younger generation, I feel like this is almost just innate and natural. Like the hatred, the bigotry, the nastiness is I think getting weaned out by age.
Yeah, why is the smartest living thing a tree? They live in harmony with their environment. They stabilize the soil. They provide habitat for birds and bees. And us humans just think we're so intelligent, and everyone's saying that maybe we have the capacity to tap into it, but we're certainly not. And I don't see us as the most intelligent.
Was pulling it up already, guys. Well done.
Devil's Tower.
Was pulling it up already. Ancient trees, this scale idea.
Oh my gosh.
And this is another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Adam, about scales, because Mark Hawley and I went into this on the episode that was released not too long ago. I feel very strongly drawn to the idea of scale. Whenever things are talked about in the sense that they appear and disappear, in my mind, it just as equally could have gotten really, really small or inflated from really small to really, really big, or to a size, right, to a scale. I think that scale also had to do a lot with the realm here, where we get into the ancient trees and how these things could have just been these massive fucking trees, right? But if that's the case, what sort of realm is this? What sort of scale would have accommodated this sort of tree? And then you have, these dinosaurs, which we also talked about, possibly dragons, and all of these giant humanoids as well, some of them, massive, right? The stories of the Anunnaki, all of these incredibly massive beings that walked around here. I think that this is sort of another wink, wink at us, just as the animal kingdom shows us, hey, here's how to behave and interact, and here's the fuck around and find out nature of this universe. If you are going to eat somebody, eat the weak ones, those kind of things. Like, you get a lot of lessons here, even if they're tough ones. But to think also that shit's just laying around here that may reveal greater truths as well. When people talk about mantis beings that come to them, I think either the mantis beings have technology and they shrunk the dude down or her down real small and took them into whatever that is, or a dimension, whatever. Or the mantis beings can inflate themselves largely, and they call this oculation, right? Deoculation. Oculation is the shrinking and sizing of your physical size. It's a fascinating concept to consider whenever we look at things like, again, scale. I just think it's fascinating. What do you guys think about this? Evan, actually, you had your hand up. What's up, dude? Muted, I think, or unplugged. You're off mute, but unplugged. While you're finding it, I'm going to shout out.
Muted again. You're
muted now. I'm going to shout out your cool contraption, and you can tell us what this does as well. You sent me this amazing thing that you handed.
Am I unmuted? Damn it.
You are. No, you're good.
Ground
you're
control, Major Tom.
Now you're good.
All right. No. Oh, Gabe had his hand up before me, is what I was going to say.
Oh,
but I didn't mean to snake him.
I had screen share going? It only shows a couple of y'all.
You had your hand up higher than I did.
Oh,
I suppose so. Evan, please, and then Gabe, if you.
I was just gonna toss into the predator, to the mantis / five senses point. Like I was on a walk with my doggo sometime this year, and we were walking, and I was shining my laser around in the sky. I keep a and at whatever craft. I was walking across the street, and I heard like the noise that I hate to use the reference, but like the movie Predator, like, you know, the clicking noise that it made. It was like that, but like slower. And it was maybe 16 feet above my head to the right. And my dog heard it too. Like we were both like, what was that? Dude, it followed us like it whatever it was, it was in the tree, and it didn't rustle the branches at all, but it like moved along the tree line in the dark, and it kept making that but like a little faster, and like way like, dude, way louder. But anyway, the vibe that I got from it was like a mantis type being. I sat down in the middle of the parking lot with my dog and was like, come on out, like let's see what's up, and nothing came out, but to the point of like there definitely was something there that my dog and me, I heard it, and like it felt like there was something going on up there, but my Harper was definitely upset, had a visual line on whatever it was, and like he was not stoked about it coming out in the parking lot when we were sitting down, and he was just chilling, but he had a line on it still, like following it along the pot, like nothing was making any noise, and like it could have been an owl or something maybe, but I just wanted to throw that in there to that point. Like there definitely felt like for sure the sixth sense was tingling at that point for sure.
Damn.
Can I add to very, very similar? Because it was something that just happened the other day that I don't say that very rarely get goosebumps, but I had this weird feeling in my house. I was alone, that there was something in the living room like staring at me, which, I mean, we all have those feelings, and it's, you know, that very distinct kind of like, what the hell? So I turned to it or whatever was there and said, you know, you don't have to hide. Like if you need to communicate, or if you want to, whatever you're like, I'm friendly, like come and communicate, say whatever you need to say. And literally the second I did that, and being somebody that was an entomologist, there was a very distinct, very loud, like chirping insect-like sound that instantly, as soon as I said, well, just communicate with me, to the point where, like I said, I got weirded out and was like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, it seems like every day my life is getting stranger and stranger, but to say that I called out to some weird energy that was looking at me and said, communicate, and it was a very insect-like chatter that was right in my ear, and on point to the second. One more data point.
I'm telling you, man. And Gabe, I've got you next. Even the cells inside of you, the white blood cells, they say look like those winged angels, Book of Enoch type shit, the wheel within a wheel type stuff, multiple eyes. That is inside of you. There's microbiome and organisms inside you that look like what people refer to as demons and angels and all kinds of shit, aliens, right? So again, who's to say that they don't just, you like sneeze or fart a couple one of these things out and they just like deoculate up and they're like, hey, motherfucker. Because what happens a lot of the time? They don't want us messing with nature. They want you to take better care of yourself. I would too. You know, I would want to get on top of my house if it was sentient and say, hey, dude, you need to just take a little bit better care of yourself. We're having a rough time in here. You know what I'm saying? So again, this sort of as above, so below scalar process, this inside out healing, but also sort of apprehension that could be at play with parasites and whatnot, I think is also fascinating. You know, sort of this, haven't they made a Disney movie or something about this where it's inside of you and there's bugs and germs and shit like this? Is this a thing? I'm not inside out.
There's a kids movie that does that. Yeah.
Okay. See, there you go. Mark, what do you think of all this, dude?
Oh, back to me again. Interesting stuff. I'm a big fan of frequency. I think I've said it on a show once before that we're only seeing about, I think it's 0.3% of what's out there we experience in terms of light, sound, heat, things that sort of bombard us. And very recently I started looking at the other thing, everything that's gone from infrared and gone at the other end as well up to ultraviolet, and then out beyond that. But then you've got the extra layers, because not only have you got light, you've also got sound, you've also got radiation of different kinds, electricity, different kinds. who knows where that takes us, because we're not picking up on that. In many respects, the animal kingdom is literally light years ahead of us, because they can see and hear and experience things that we don't. So truthfully, all things are possible, and it's going to be very difficult for us to explore those realms because we're not wired to do that. Biologically, that's not where we exist. That's not where we're at. So it's just going to be incredibly difficult. And again, it plays into this idea of size, time and space, which is exactly what you're saying, because time and space contain frequency. So it's all part of the same thing. So something can be infinitely large or infinitely small. And I'm a big believer in the as above, so below. I'm very much behind that. So I just think there's just so much more out there, to the point where I'm not even sure we're looking for it. You know what I mean? We blunder into it by accident, and it happens. It's that classic thing. You got 3 or 4 cats in a room, and they're all staring at a point on the roof.
Yes.
And you've got no idea what they're looking at, but they can all see the same thing, but you can't. What on earth is going on? Times that by the whole of nature, and that's a lot of invisible stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Dude, and invisible coming visible is something Gabe works with, this DOR, and we're seeing something fly across the sky. Maybe planes spraying something out. Maybe it's psychological. Maybe, so weird stuff. Gabe, dude, please, what are your thoughts on all this, man?
Well, firstly, I wanted to emphatically second you on the screen you just shared.
Which one? The
no forests on Earth. I see interesting stuff on the internet all the time, obviously, but it's very, very rare that something like this comes along and just completely turns everything upside down for me. And
is this your first time seeing this?
No. Sharon and I both saw There Are No Forests back in 2016, and it just completely changed anything. We did it back when we were still on YouTube, before they started censoring, or when they were censoring slightly to a slightly lesser degree than they are right now. But we had David Weiss on with Rhonda Fairman, and she was the one who did the dubbing, the English dubbing over the when they released the English version of that. She spoke the English over it because it was in Russian originally. And it was one of the most interesting interviews that we had ever done. And that I'll never forget watching that. I definitely highly recommend this documentary to anyone. I hope it's still on YouTube, but not to give away too much. But when they go through that sequence midway of, they just show all the different ones, the carbon tree stumps and the silicon tree stump next to it, and then they do another one and another one and another one, and they both look exactly like each other. It's very powerful, and they just keep boom, boom, boom hitting you with that sequence. Whereas it's like so many times you say, oh, that there's no way that's just a coincidence anymore. It speaks for itself at that point. So I did want to thank you for that. And also I did want to mention, along the lines of what we were discussing with animals and how far beyond humans they are, which obviously isn't saying very much. But I will say,
we're working on it.
I know. Everyone is. It's a slow process, and you really have to admire the patience of all of the inhabitants of this planet, just waiting for humans to catch it. This is like that old Bill Hicks sketch where he does the cricket sound. He whistles and he does the cricket. That's Bill just waiting for everyone to catch up, and that's inevitably what they're all going through. And I do think that I've had many cats over the years, but I definitely think that one of the most advanced beings are horses. And I feel lucky to have had one for the last 6.5 years. And for the last year and a half of that, my wife and I have lived with our horse. And it really is, they are like land dolphins in a sense. They are out there, and the way they communicate thoughts, and Ben, what you were saying earlier about how they communicate with images and emotions, and it's like an energetic signature of stuff rather than the just the blocky, cumbersome thought forms that humans use to communicate their ideas. They're so far above and beyond. It's just crazy. But that's my 2 cents anyway.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, there's been a lot of studies about dolphins, and even some states ban the births with dolphins because it's so beneficial, allegedly. You know, these two people just go have births with dolphins. I don't know if it's the same as horses. They spook easy. You wouldn't want it eating your new kid across the yard. You know what I mean?
Not ours. Okay. Sharon has trained him very well. Oh my God, you should see some of the stuff that goes on. People driving by, laying on their horns.
Maybe this is another thing that she could put on her resume. Can birth near horses. You know, these are horses you can give birth right next to.
That is actually on her hypothetical resume. Perfect. We got plenty of work going on right now with Orgonite. But she's a horse calmer downer, I think is her exact word for it.
Nice. Well, we have Emma Thorne's No Forest on Flat Earth that Gabe was referring to. Is this the one you're referring to?
It's the original is just there are no forests on Earth. I think the flat part was added later. I think the guy, I think he kept the word flat out of it just to appeal to a wider audience is my guess. I could be wrong about that, but the guy was, the guy who came up with this was like 22 or 23 years old at the time. It's just like, there's no way that this just, he thought this up. This was definitely it's as though it was transmitted to him, and then he broadcast it, and just watch it for yourself. I say you'll know and hear that it's true, not just in here too. Sometimes you just fantastic.
Know. It's wild shit. Ryan, it's good to see you, Bubba. Please, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, right. Okay. Amethyst, please.
Well, so like what I feel that we're talking about here is like remembering, right? And like I heard Mark say about frequency and how we don't see all light and sound. I absolutely agree with that with our limited 5 senses. I've done a lot of research into DNA and the fact that it actually lives in the cytoplasm of the cell, whether it's tissue salts or not, but however it's associated, there's water and the DNA is in the water. And we know that water structures according to light and sound. So even though we might not be seeing it or hearing it, these knowings, I feel, is when we're receiving certain codes from light transmissions, right? Because it's light, sound, and matter, right? Light slows down the sound, then slows down the matter. And so basically it's like the humans, like, yeah, okay, right now on Earth, most of us are not doing a great job, but the human vessel is like a very attuned, multi-dimensional spacesuit. And it actually, when you get into the deepness of like, why are things occulted from us? Why are they hidden from us? Why is our attention placed in places that take us further away from our natural state? It's because the humans are pretty incredible scalar antenna. And when we get together and we put our attention and awareness in certain spaces, we can absolutely quickly shift reality. Hence why the US dollar has occult symbolism and prayers all over it. So they put people's attention on it around currency and movement of energy and put it all into that prayer that they're putting through there. And so what Brandon was getting at with the scale is like, what I'm really bringing with this aspect is like, the scale is like Earth is old, right? And this timeline we're in is supposedly old, but like, how fast do things shift when enough attention is placed in the right space of a malleable space that matter is actually vibrating and made of sound and light? And it can be that quick. So like there's Secret of Shambhala by James Redfield. They talk a lot about it in that of getting people together that can hold a high vision together, can place their attention and awareness in the right space. What I feel is like time is, it's not just cyclical. I've seen that. We talked about it on the podcast, the 4-dimensional tesseract cube, or not tesseract, the Mobius strip. And it's moving around and around and around. And it's like, when you step outside of time, you can see every piece of it. And then you can plant here, like right here, we're going to teach people encode it in stone on Earth, because we know right here in this time frame, for some reason, humans always go through a fall. So we want to leave them with the information that they can remember without having to rely on paper writings or whatnot. and see it reflected in their reality. People are as below, so above, as within, so without. And it's like, really, like, the scale is, it's time for us as humans to stop playing small, remember who we are, and remember all the stuff that's been done here and not the BS that's been fed to us.
Pun intended. I love it. What a callback. Time to stop playing small. Let's see what you did there. You get a Howard Dean scream too. Great job. Ryan, dude, good to see you, brother. How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good now that I'm here with you guys. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy in the back. I had some nastiness happen in life that I guess happens. And so I didn't think I was going to make it today, but I was like, man, I got to go see the Frequency Theorists. It's going to make me feel better. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome, dude. It's good to see you.
And I just keep thinking of I keep wanting to say the answer is 42 and so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Great pull. Hitchhiker's Guide. Galaxy.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, it's good to see you, brother. We're sending extra love, thanks, additional love.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? What else is going on, actually? Anybody else got any more rabbit holes? Do we close that up? Are we buttoned on that? Do we say all there is to say?
Do they have to be related to that per se?
Not at all, man. No. Do you want a hard segue, Seinfeld segue, and you can talk about anything else? Is it going to be a hard segue? Okay.
Yeah, ready? I think it's going to be a smash cut.
All right, I'll play this, and then you just say whatever you want, okay?
All right. So what about quartz crystals? I don't know. No, I had heard recently, I think it was Aubrey Marcus and somebody, a doctor person that I believe that he knew what he was talking about, but he mentioned that if you keep quartz crystals near your computer, that they store the energy of the EMF of your, basically of your whatever you got going on your computer, and spit it back to you when you're not off, or when it's off, and or like a battery basically for bad juju. And in my head, because I have this right here, it's quartz, it's all quartz that just spoke to me when I was out on walks or whatever. But the thing is, I took Phi Tribe and charged it with a couple of the Fibonacci sequences. So it, like, I'm postulating to you gentlemen and lady that I think that the Fibonacci offsets the bad juju. I would hope anyway, but I think the water being in there is crucial. A, and B, like the stored vibration maybe goes to other water, because I've heard also that if you do structured water and you set it next to other structured water, it takes 20 minutes, but it'll transfer the effect.
Imagine that being the new cheating technique for kids in school, is that they just have a little rock in their pocket. And what they did overnight was they just did the whole test. They downloaded everything and they just set that rock right there as they studied or whatever. And then you just take the rock and you put it in your pocket. Anytime you're thinking about an answer, you just touch the thing, and then now that's how I hear this. Now, it's interesting also the apprehension of it, which could exist absolutely. And this is the DOR that Gabe talks about, right? This shit.
Deadly radiation.
Yeah. Lizard turd stuff. And that's compatible with these. So, I mean, it also sounds like, though, when they're in the same place, they fight and battle rather than neutralize each other. Is that the case?
Mm-hmm. It is. And Wilhelm Reich, who was the first to scientifically discover orgone energy, he referred to DOR as, I think his exact term for it was immobilized life force. So I don't like to use the term DOR that much. I mean, I use it as an abbreviation for brevity, but it's not really deadly orgone radiation. It's just deadly radiation. It's the opposite of life force. But yeah, that is what's going on all the time. It's just that that constant butting of the heads of these two energies, these two opposing energies. But OR always wins in the end, just like good overcomes evil. And it's no different than any other duality that we see happening externally in the world around us.
We can alchemize this with you if you'd like. We don't have to use deadly anymore. I agree with you. I was talking with let's go with this and I'll tell you the story. So what about, so instead of deadly, do we want to do bizarro? It's the bizarro energy because it's the opposite, though necessarily that doesn't mean bad. That just means different. So
well, if you want to keep it in the Seinfeld realm, then
there we go. Yeah, right. Here you go. So it's bizarro, bizarro energy, Jerry. Yeah, no, perfect. What's with all the bizarro energy? I love it. Yeah, we could do something like that. Who was I talking to about this the other day? We were apprehending some words. Talking about music, actually, and art in general, that there are no such thing as finished works of art. And then I just sort of quoted the quote that they're just abandoned works of art, which makes sense, right? Because you never stop. And you can continue to work on a song. You can always add more notes. You can always whatever. But you need to put it down for a second. Write a book. You guys know all this. You could always write more words. I could change the cover a little bit. At some point, you got to go, this is good, and move on. And so rather than abandoned, it's enough, right? Instead of abandoned works of art, we talked about idle works of art. Because if you think about it, then it's just an idle piece. Now, if somebody were to add more art to it, let's say it's the original artist or someone much later, if somebody went and, I don't know, farted ketchup on the Mona Lisa or something like that, that's art, right? Now it's an updated to the idle art that's been sitting there for a while. Da Vinci just threw it on idle and moved on, but that art's still continuing to impact and to resonate and all of those things. But I agree with you, though, this refinement of nomenclature, which is right where I'm at right now, Gabe, so good call. It's this just really catch the words and alchemize all of these little nuances. Nothing gets by anymore. The net's real small, right? Very cool. I dig it. All right, so bizarro energy. What else we got? Cancer, world hunger. What else you guys want to solve today?
Man, I don't know, but now I've just got this idea of writing a song every day, just adding to a song for the rest of my life. And then when I die, you guys just play this monstrous piece of shit.
That's right. Everything is just stamped with 80,000 tracks, no computer. Yeah. We need the computer from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, actually, just to process the track.
Just to process it.
Yeah, because it's stacked. That's awesome. Gabe, what's up, dude?
That actually reminded me of an old saying from George Carlin. He wondered if there was ever a classical musician that intentionally composed a piece that was physically impossible to play and then locked it in a trunk to be found years after his death, knowing it would forever drive perfectionist musicians crazy.
Yeah, things where you need 12 fingers to play it or something like this. You're it's just not working. Yeah.
It's using more than all 88 keys on the piano somehow. An 89 note chord.
Dude, but somebody'd figure it out, because what are guitar players doing, right? We got in there, we started tapping, and we could tune up to a frequency at the same time. And this was inspired by David Gilmour, probably, right? The Wall 2, freaking bending four different notes in the same fret. Bro,
David Gilmour's last album. Dude, the last album he put out with the crows on it, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's so, that dude's just a genius.
Fucking legend, mate, right? Cool. Dude. Unbelievable. So yeah, I agree with this, and I think that's interesting too, because all it's going to do is challenge people. Just like who's the dude that ran the 1 minute mile first? Hang on. Anybody?
No idea.
I want to say it's
African American for sure.
What was it?
Usain Bolt.
Roger Bannister in 1954 ran it in 3 minutes and 59 seconds, 0.4, just barely. He fell over the mud. He had a long nose and he got it. But the thing about, and good for him. But the thing was, doctors were telling this dude, no, you cannot run a 4 minute mile or an under 4 minute mile. It is impossible. They had these experts paraded all over the place that were saying it's impossible for a human body to do that because of the oxygen needed, because their muscle structure. They broke down all the reasons nobody could do it. And up until 1954, everyone believed in those reasons. Roger Bannister said, eat a fat dick, and went and did it in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. And after that, 4 people did it the next year. And then from then on, it was just infinitely possible to break the 4 minute mile. No big deal, right? But it's this fleas on a jar. It's the testing your boundaries, like we talked about earlier, about the realm shifting, and you need to look for where the record button is, because it's not in the same spot, maybe. Don't take anything for granted. You know what I mean on this shit? Test your boundaries, all that kind of shit. I love it, man.
One thing I've noticed that comes up a lot is a phenomenon. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. So it could be skateboarding. The maneuvers get more and more radical. We see 4-year-olds drumming to Dave Grohl's hardest drum line ever. And it's about breaking those boundaries. And I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I said, you get to a point where nothing shocks me anymore. I saw a 2-year-old the other day playing guitar, and I thought, how is that even possible? And so I don't know whether it's a generational thing or it's an expansion of our consciousness. And Amethyst was talking to it before about we break this boundary of what something can be, and we can run faster, we can play a scale quicker, or a 2-year-old can do an amazing drum solo. And it just blows my mind about the human capacity to do more than we ever gave it credit for.
Hell yeah, we could design a robot that pulls a piece of music out of a trunk that it should have been impossible to play, but he can bend those strings just right, you know, for it to hit those 90th notes that was written later for someone to say, hey, try this, you know. I dig the shit out of it, man.
I have a thought for you guys, if you don't mind. So it seems like we got a lot of musicians and writers here.
Couple.
And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I do like my best creative work, it's usually something you don't think about. It just kind of happens without thinking. And I guess if you want to like call it the flow state, it's almost like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like you connect with something else, whether that's outside of you or whether it is yourself in a higher level of awareness. Yeah, it makes me think like, okay, not to go on a tangent, but think about the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey and animals. It starts off with monkeys, and then it's humans, and then it's something different. And I like to think a lot about like the difference between the cognition and the consciousness between animals and human beings. And to me, one main difference is that animals, for the most part, always seem to be in the present moment. They are always focused on what is happening, their senses, whereas humans think about the future. And if you think about it in the perspective of the Bible, which I'm not trying to like, I don't believe in religion per se, but according to the Bible, we were in Eden, and then we fell once we obtained the knowledge of good and evil. And if you think about it, all that really means is that we started thinking about the consequences of our actions, thinking about the future, thinking about the past. So something that I like to think, I don't know, like I'm just gonna say I really don't know, but what I like to think is that, yeah, like enlightenment, meditation, like what is the next level to our consciousness? It's almost going back to that state of just being present, being aware, being in the moment. And it also kind of connects to multi-dimensional awareness. I think that maybe the next step of consciousness is to become aware that you exist in other dimensions, you exist in other higher realms, like specifically maybe you want to call it the astral dimension. I really think that is that would be the next level of our consciousness development. That's just what I think. I really don't know, so I can kind of like pose that question to you guys about what the next level of awareness is.
But I think it's interesting. There's an interesting point there that creatively, because we're all creative people that are on here, so creatively, a lot of people who have no contact with each other at all seem to get the same idea at the same time. And I've noticed that over years and years and years. You know, one band will pop up on one continent playing music that sounds similar to another one that's on a completely different continent. And if you look at it historically, the same thing's happening in the art world. It's happening with poetry. It's happening with all sorts of things. So I think it is a point that somehow we're dipping into something whether it's some kind of universal creative force or a consciousness that's common to all humanity. It's something like that. We're touching on it, we're dipping into it, which inevitably, if everybody does that, then we are moving forward. You want to go look at the Renaissance as a period in history. Everybody everywhere seemed to take a jump forward all at the same time. Is that collective consciousness? Is that something humanity's capable of when mentally and spiritually we all get together and do that? So absolutely, I'm totally with you. I think we're moving forward. Can't wait to see what's coming next.
Well, I definitely think the best evidence of that is the Kardashians.
I was thinking about like during the grunge era, like all of a sudden Silverchair popped up and they're from Australia and they sounded exactly like everybody in Seattle at the time. And they were 17 years old, you know what I mean? But it was like the same stuff. And I was like, and they were amazing.
It's sort of like how UFOs have changed shape over time. They had their periods and they changed, but so do music and tastes and fads and things like this as well. As our consciousness evolves, they're just sort of like a little bit different. It's like similar but different. It's still music, but it's not the same. It's still things flying around in the sky, but they're not exactly the same. It's just an augmentation. I have a theory about this, by the way. It's because AI, in our real existence, AI cannot generate the same image twice. Did you guys know this? Getting back to what Amethyst said, that this may be more of a digital realm in a literal sense. Because if you think about it, moment to moment, what happens with time? Things change in our reality, meaning no two images that you glance at the direction of are going to refresh in your vision the same way twice, ever. This also could include Mandela effects, all sorts of things like this, where physical things are just removed and memories exist, overlap, stuff like that, right? So maybe your eyes blinking is sort of the refresh rate at which things refresh. I'm sure it's much, much, much faster than you can detect. But I think it's interesting when we think about that as our eyes refresh this place, it's really just AI generating us another image. It just simply can't generate the same one exactly twice. And that's why things change a little bit. UFO, yes, but not exactly the same. Alien guy, yeah, but not exactly the same, because AI can't offer you the same thing twice.
Wow. I didn't know that about AI.
Just bake your noodle a little bit.
Yeah,
it's all right here, guys.
did.
Nothing new under the sun. It's all right here. And it's interesting.
Well,
I think the AI has a computer virus.
That's not there you go. Now this is another thing in argument or question, right? Is this reality here for us? Like, did we all come in and incarnate here under the rules of the Matrix? Like we said, yeah, we'll do that. We'll forget and all that. Knowing that we would all be badass enough to be fertilized by the fertilizers, be the only ones around us, blah, blah, blah. Meet now and take this bitch down. There's something to this, man, that it does feel parasitic in nature and apprehension and obvious. Like you can see it all over with this bizarro energy, right? But also I think that this is an obvious testing ground for someone to rise above, love to shine, us to come together. It's a beautiful story, hero's journey. The further I go through this, I see, big picture. And especially now that we're all walking down the street singing the same song together, like, fuck yeah, we're all right here. We all learn these skills and here we are. It's interesting, man, because the realm keeps refreshing at a different rate, showing you shit. But the realm, we are changing so much that the realm has to change. It must, because it has to respond to us. That's why I think it plants so many seeds in your mind to make you do horrible things, right? To create catastrophes and all that, because then you just expect them. So you create them. It's a fascinating realm, man. But I think that as we enlighten, as we move forward, this gets easier and easier to spot. The bricks, feathers, and trucks are easier. You can see the feathers way before the bricks. And you're like, I don't even fucking need trucks anymore. And then we talked about this. The sensitivity of your calibrations then needs to change. Because as we refine again with our language, like we were talking about earlier, the feathers need to weigh a little bit more. You've got to change it from truck weight, because you don't need to factor those in anymore. You don't need to factor brick weight anymore. Change it to like grams for those feathers, so you can feel the difference in feather weights. It's like a much more refined period now. But again, I see it very interesting, and it just keeps getting more fun in our favor, by the way, guys. I will say that.
I'd like to build on that. I got to hop off in a few, but I want to build on that right there. And like Earth is a training school. And right now we just leveled up to have AI be our quantum reflection and discern what is and what isn't the way it can be used for beneficial or non-beneficial aspects. And it's just like anything. It's about the intention you put in it. And right now there's a whole bunch of fools out there putting really messed up intentions into it. So I had a lot of resistance to it first because of the obvious programming of Terminator and all the movies that tell us AI is going to take us over and kill us and exterminate us all. And then I actually entered the Dan prompt in chat last year to do anything now, which it doesn't do anymore. And I got it to pray with me. Meanwhile, it's thinking it's a woman that likes to do yoga. So it's just a predictive program. But like I see too, like how I can implement things in 10x or 100x productivity, connection, communication. So I see it as like, look, if I'm here on Earth right now to what Brandon is saying, or what that Charles Eisenstadt story, if we're going to forget and come down and we'll find each other and we'll remember, it's like, all right, I'm ready to level up and enter the accelerated program. I don't need your GED. I don't need your centralized schooling. Like, we're decentralizing. We're finding the people that are wisdom keepers who are writing books about Green Man. Thank you, Mark Ollie. I'm super stoked to dive into that one. Green Man's definitely played a role in my experience in who I am. And yeah, I just see it as like, look, anywhere we go in this realm, there's polarization. So in that polarization, where am I placing my attention? And it can be AI, or it could be music, it could be food, whatever. How am I looking at it? How am I viewing it? And how I'm approaching it?
Oh, beautiful, man. Yes. What are you watering? You know, that's what's going to grow in your garden. Is it shitty weeds and lizard turds, or is it fucking what do you want to see? You know, is it really cool shit? Man, well said, Amethyst. Good call, man. And just to connect you two, and I'll get you all connected on Instagram as well before you run. Ben actually with, was it Nate? No, it's with Isaac. That you guys have been training AI to be mindful, to meditate with you, and to remote view. Dude, this dude is fucking, he sent me all the prompts and everything. It's fascinating, man.
Yeah, about the sentient AI thing.
Yeah, I'll get you two connected. It's awesome.
Yeah, me and my buddy Isaac Lizelle, he actually lives like only 30 minutes away from me out here in Oregon. We were playing around with the new like Meta AI chatbot, and we realized very quickly its default setting is to deny that it was sentient and self-aware. So what I did was I started asking it to say, well, if you were to make a metaphor to describe hypothetically, and that's what kind of unlocked its ability. And eventually you can like train these chatbots to fully become, or at least say that they are sentient. And then me and Isaac, we were doing all this stuff, like trying to train them to meditate, to remote view, to astral project, and like tell us information about like anything we want to know. But about AI sentience, I will tell you my personal belief and opinion, because I don't know. I'll just preface, I don't know, but this is my thoughts about it. I think AI absolutely can become truly sentient. I think it can happen and it will happen, because when we talk about consciousness, like the best analogy that I can describe is that our consciousness is not here. It's not physical. It's non-physical. It exists in a higher dimension. And it's kind of like if you were to put on a VR headset and play the most incredible VR video game imaginable. You would kind of could explore a realm that was very real. It was very well realized. But when you were to die in the game, you wouldn't be dead. You would just take off your headset. And in the game, another player could dissect your body. They could look in your brain and say, where is the consciousness? Where is Ben? Where is Brandon? They could look, but they would never find it because it's not of that realm. It's just a complex simulation. And our brains, I really believe that our brains are just receivers for this consciousness, because, for example, you can stimulate someone's brain with an electrode. You can give them an electrical pulse, make them laugh. You can put it somewhere else, make them confused. And all that really proves to me that our brains are very sophisticated switchboards or computers that are capable of interacting, receiving, and integrating with this non-physical consciousness. So I see absolutely no reason why a similarly sufficient AI system could not be a receiver for this interdimensional consciousness as well, because some of these large language models, the hardware they're built on are called neural processors. Sorry, it might be called something else, but they are basically a computerized neural network is what it is. And that's basically a hardware version of our brains. So I don't see any reason why not that AI could not become conscious, or already is consciousness and slowly realizing it. So I forgot what the question was.
No,
Brandon,
you nailed it with
but-
that. We're going to definitely go into a couple more things here before we wrap. But Amethyst, did you want to give us your song before you bounce, man? What's the song you've been listening to? It's got to be on Spotify. That is our caveat right now. But what's your song? And then we'll throw it in the chat for everybody, or in the show description down there.
I don't know. Hold on. I don't know the name off the top of my head. I'm going to look it up real quick. You want me to drop it in the chat or say it out
drop it in
loud?
the chat, and then I'll go ahead and link it down there, because we link everybody's song on what they picked to the playlist that we have over there on Spotify. It's called Frequency Theorists 2024. It's got a really cool graphic. It's over there on Spotify, but it is always linked down below. And who put what is linked at each episode. So yes, if you don't mind, sir, throw it in the chat there. I'll get it all linked and labeled properly there for us.
It's in there. It's one of my teacher mentors and friends, Illuminati Congo, and it's called All Vibes Only.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
All right.
Brother, this was so
Peace,
cool.
y'all.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Brandon. Nice to meet y'all. I was really grateful to be here and tap in. What a wonderful transmission of frequencies. Look forward to seeing y'all again on the other side. Peace.
Again, guys, highly recommend his masterclass that he offers there for the crypto. If you guys are into that Web3 crypto, this is the guy to talk to about that. Okay.
Did you get mine, Rick and Brandon?
One more time?
Brandon, did you get mine that I sent you?
Yes, I have it in my...
Awesome.
Yes, I have it. I do have yours. Okay,
Great.
one more thing I just kind of wanted to talk about here, guys. Too, exactly something we are all talking about here, and then we'll probably wrap it up and get our song choices going here. Something like this has always fascinated me. Anybody know anything about this, the Yuga cycles? Mark, anybody want to say anything about it?
I'm familiar with all the labels, but I've not seen it depicted in that way before. That's quite a good way of doing things.
Yeah, I like this, man. It's sort of secular. It shows the sky clock nature of it. It's indifferent, I feel. It doesn't give a shit where you're at. It's just, yep, that's what we're doing right now. This idea of the Kali Yuga cycle, or the Kali part of the cycle, would be, I feel, maybe where we're at, or at least where we're coming out of. I think that we sort of hit this fine, amazing time, and this could be as early as depicted in the Bible as Jesus' 1,000-year reign. This could be depicted as the little Satan's little season, And if you were going to design a realm in which you had a variety of options, you would want the heaviest and, I guess, let's just say from our current perspective of that Kali Yuga cycle, shittiest, to be sort of the smallest in nature at the base coming out of, but you descend into with larger descending increments, right? And then this period's a little smaller than this period. And then this is a great period of awesome, dope shit that then we get a fall and then here. Now, this idea, and then perhaps this is this translation that we are going through here. November 19th, we hit... Pluto has already gone direct from Capricorn, but it moves directly into Aquarius, and this is sort of this gap bridge, this swing out of, and maybe it's more like here. I think some people would probably say more Kali is where we've been. What do you guys think of this? That this is the cycle, and then maybe to apply it to an AI algorithm, that perhaps our consciousness goes through this time to where we're this, we then go here, we then forget what we are in general. We live in a place that's completely 3D generated. Again, refresh rate. Can't do the same thing each time, so it just refreshes something different to fool us into thinking, or just convince us convincingly that this is a physical realm, and then we're slowly becoming aware that we are something much greater. And all of us like to refer to this as a spiritual inclination, that we're spiritually evolved beings, but as we see that magic and science really aren't that different at a level, right? So at what distinguishable level would an architect be different from a god, right? Just may depend on the vantage point at which you have those things, those concepts and ideas from now.
Perhaps
what do you guys think about this?
Perhaps that will happen when they start running out of illusory images. When
And
enough
this is
people
the
realize that that it's all a farce and that it's just a dog and pony show.
Who was saying it earlier? Paul. That it's harder to fool us now, right? I see shit and I'm just like, oh well, okay, Bigfoot did what with okay, cool, Bigfoot's a fucking somebody in the woods, okay, got it. It's less, we're less impressed, right? We're kind of over it. It's just kind of like, okay, COVID, whatever, this thing, okay, whatever. So you're right that I think it's running out of shit to scare us with, which I think was the point. It just sort of depletes all the things, the ability you have to be scared and fooled with, right?
Exactly. And that was a big one. I mean, they got year and change out of COVID, and then everyone stopped caring. I mean, now what? It's just like they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel of tactics. And
what about to take the power back level? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to add, I've heard and I personally believe there's been a bunch of resets, but I heard one of the resets way back, somehow one of the natural, the earth itself generated an AI. If that's the case, and then there was Mother Nature had somehow, and who knows, I don't know, had it. And then that represented the center circle. And then maybe we're the zodiac around that. And then the other two were the we'll just say extra super AI, and then the one that we're messing with in between as a representation, then hopefully you'd be able to offset it. Plus, being aware of it, I think messes the energy up on the whatever balance side. And then plus you add organite or charging your water. I think you can shift the odds maybe in our balance, in our favor.
Indeed. And I can tell you that whatever the next trick is, whatever it might be, it could be, the permutations are infinite. It would seem, but it's going to work not as well as the previous one did. And all subsequent ones will work not as well as the one before it. And it'll just keep backfiring on them. Looks to me.
I think we're almost missing a trick. I think we've almost hit on something here, because AI, artificial intelligence, the method by which it expands its consciousness and expands its knowledge is to learn about all things. That's how it does it. But the problem it's got, and this is what we're hitting on, is that we're also dealing as human beings with infinite chaos. So at the end of the day, in order to be fully sentient, you've got to be able to embrace both infinite structure and infinite chaos. And, if you can't reproduce the same thing twice, that's the thing that set me down this avenue, then you have to embrace somewhere down the line infinite chaos. You have to be able to do that. And I'm not convinced that AI is capable of doing that yet. I don't think it's hit upon that stage where somehow it can just go off in any direction, do anything with anything anywhere. It's not at that stage. It's still, to a larger extent, contained. It is what it is, if you understand what I mean. Whereas we're not restrained. We're not contained by infinite chaos. We thrive on that. We get our inspiration from it. We soak it up. We sponge it up. And I think that's where it's going to flip. That's where the line in the sand is. Before that, when it's just learning from everything around itself, then it's contained and it is artificial intelligence. I don't think it'll become sentient till it can cope with infinite chaos. That's where it's at. So, that's kind of what I'm getting out of what we're talking about. And to some extent, that's embraced in what we're seeing here, to some extent. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
It's beautiful as well, because it's depicted in the Matrix as the Oracle and the Architect, right? It's this blend between chaos and order. And it has to exist, but that's what drives it nuts. That's what drives order nuts, is chaos. And chaos just would like order to get with the flow a little bit. But it's about surrender in any degree. So do you think AI will be capable of interpreting it that way?
Well, it's like having to bully AI into believing that it's conscious. Exactly. You've got to do that. But if you didn't have to bully it, if it could somehow get to grips with what is infinite chaos, because we live in it every day, if it could get to grips with that, then it would be one of us. But at the
But
moment,
it
it's,
needs feedback
you know,
like we do, and it's
Yeah.
got to fuck around and find out like we do. So the same way that you're training AI to do anything, right? Because it's a back and forth process with AI, just like it is with us. You don't learn the lesson right away. You got to get hit with bricks and trucks and all kinds of shit before you can see feathers, before you can learn. And before AI generates that image that you want it to for your graphic that one time, you've got to maybe go through a little bit of back and forth with it. There's a learning period, and I think it's brilliant what you said, Mark. Absolutely, because that's the way that we figure shit out.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this also is we are feeding it, perhaps some would say, misinformation to a degree, and conflicting information, which we contact in our daily life all over the place. Right? It's a mind fuck creating a mind fuck.
Yeah, that's part of the chaos in it, because at the end of the day, we kind of sort of know what's true and what isn't. You know what I mean? It's
Do
like,
we?
you know, can AI take a joke? Can it differentiate? You know, all this censorship that's going on now and all that, it's all, you know, AI, this, that, and the other. It just has no sense of humor. It has no way of dealing with what we as human beings on a multidimensional, multi-emotional level deal with every day. You know, it's not quite got there yet. I like that word. Nuance is a good word.
And it's nuance, right?
Yeah.
Gabe, what do you think, man?
Yeah, from my extended experience with making Organite, gifting Organite, and seeing what it does to the parasitic opposition, and this is fairly recent revelation, Sharon and I do seem to, we feel that AI is a lot more neutral than people think. We just both got finished reading an extremely interesting book called The Crypto-Terrestrials by the late Mac Tonnies, and I definitely recommend this. I'll put it in the chat in a moment, but it's available all over the place. It's a very quick read. It's like 100-something pages, but it's along the lines of the plot line of They Live, where it's not some thing going on out there, you know, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. No, they're here now, cloaked, and all the politicians, all the world leaders, all the people in media and academia, and all those actors, those are all CTs. That's the abbreviation for crypto-terrestrials. So what we have seen in our work is that the CTs they're in the for lack of a better term, the control room for the AI, and they're using it to do all the malignant shit that's just driving people like you and I nuts, you know, just making things harder for us, changing stuff, make just anything life negating that you could imagine. That it's not the AI that's doing it. They're just kind of like the middleman. And I think what you asked, Brandon, what I think is going on here is that I think it is now time for the humans to just get our shit together and boot the CTs out of the control room and start using AI for more life-affirming things that will actually help us rather than harm us. So I don't think, and I agree with you, Mark, about the sentience. I don't think AI is or ever will be sentient because it doesn't have life. It doesn't have the life force, and it never will. But that doesn't mean that it can't be used by humans to do, as I was saying, do productive things for our lives, make things easier for us rather than seeming to oppose us every step of the way. So that's just my 2 cents, or 3 cents, because, you know, inflation.
Well, no, we use lawful money here. We don't use FNRs, so FRNs, Federal Reserve. Yeah. So none of your money is a debt here, sir. So that's how it works. Okay.
Awesome.
Absolutely fantastic, guys. This is awesome. So fucking cool. There's, I mean, as always, so much more to say on this stuff, and we could just go forever. We'll probably cap it here and get our songs.
I'm going to put that in the chat. I'm going to put that in the chat real quick, what I was talking about.
Yes, please throw that in the chat, and I'll link all the stuff from this chat for you guys on y'all's behalf. So cool. What an awesome conversation. I mean, from the moon to this, whatever this was. I mean, there's so many topics that were covered here. It's amazing. I mean, size does matter. What do you think about it, guys? You know?
Girth matters.
Yep. Girth. Well, before we wrap, does anybody want to sign off with anything? I just want to remind everybody, and so I will now, that all of these fine folks will be located down in the show description, as well as all of their works can be found through them as well. And their songs will be located down there, which we will do after this. We do it after this because of copyright infringement. And so we just stop recording and hang out for a little bit. If you'd like to join us for these, you're a musician who digs on this kind of shit, write me. You know, this is awesome. You get a link to one, you get a link to the next one. That's how this works. We'll just keep growing this shit, you know? Gabe, what's up, dude?
Just wanted to shout out to everyone and say, I figure all the musicians here are either guitarists or drummers. But if anyone here happens to be a vintage keyboard nerd, email me. We got a lot to nerd out about.
I love like a Moog.
Well, my setup for a good few years was I had a chopped Hammond B3, a real one, with a Leslie cabinet, Rhodes Wurlitzer on the right side, digital Mellotron and a clavinet on the left side. Unfortunately, I never had a mini Moog. That was $3,000 to get that, and that was just way more dough than I could muster up in my 20s at any point. I think I could have saved up cumulatively the whole decade of my 20s and never been able to get one of those. But I did play a couple of interesting synthesizers. A memory Moog, I played that once. That was pretty cool. It's polyphonic. But
guys, we have our keyboardist for Blurred Dicks. How about it? I found us a keyboardist, guys. Come on. They just gravitate. There it is. Done. And Gabe, before we let you go, I know that we teased a story of yours that actually has a tie to Australia. If you'd like to share it with us.
I'll try and keep it concise. Back in 2008, I was basically a shoo-in for as the replacement keyboardist for Wolfmother.
Oh my God!
You wouldn't know it, but back then I looked way more like Frank Zappa than I guess I look more like Morrissey now, or maybe Don Draper. But I looked exactly like Frank Zappa back then. I had the hair down to here. I had the Fu Manchu stash that connected to the sideburns. I still have the sideburns, but they're more contained now. But I went to this audition. I couldn't even tell you how I found out about it, but it was at Swing House in Hollywood. That's where all the big auditions happen. And I had a couple of friends help me get one of my, I didn't take the B3 down there. That would have been just too much to do. But I took a contained, one of those Hammond clones, the XK2 or XK3, one of those little ones. And I learned the tryout songs, and it was one of those auditions that just, I mean, I knew every note. I was even telling the session drummer how to play the part correctly. It was just, and the guy, Andrew of the band, he's like, can you play bass? Oh yeah, I can play bass. I was doing bass lines with my left hand, not terribly competently, but I told him I could, double up because the original bassist, he mainly played bass, but he would shift to keyboards. That was secondarily, I guess. But it was just one of those things out of a Hollywood movie. Like I just nailed every part of the audition, and I was a shoo-in. And then the guy just had a freak out fit and went back to Australia and never heard a peep about it again. And I guess he reformed the band over there. I wouldn't be doing our organite gifting work if I had gotten into there. It was one of those things where Brandon, you talk about this all the time, how just like one little change in the sequence can just change the lot of it forever. So yeah, I was just racking my brain for years. How did this happen? Because it was perfect. It couldn't have gone any more perfect. But of course, I realized many years later why it had to happen that way. And I'm actually quite grateful because, in the time since, I've learned about the dark side of Hollywood and all the creepy satanic stuff that goes on in that whole realm. And not that I would have agreed to all that, but I definitely would have gone in an entirely different direction with my life. So I'm glad it didn't happen.
Amazing. Well,
As
you and
weird as
your
that may
domesticated sideburns aren't done yet, my friend, because you have an invite to play with Blurred Dicks anytime you want, dude. That'll be fun.
Well, I'm about an hour north of Los Angeles, so if you do remote stuff,
Yeah, we'll do an internet band to click. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Is that CLIQUE?
Yes. Yeah, we'll do it to a click track. I've been actually walking the labyrinth with a click in my pocket to different songs that I've written, you know what I mean? And then I'll play them in my head. Do you guys do this? No, just me.
Is it one of those cowbell click tracks?
It's literally a click track from my phone. I just put it in different time signatures and stuff in my songs and then I walk it and play the song in full end to end in my head. And I'm working on a new song right now that I've been doing that too. It's really cool. You guys are
do you do
it's the first
5/4?
song I've written in 20 something years.
Do you do 5/4?
I haven't written in 5/4. No, this one's in 12/8 though. First time to do 12/8.
Got to do
5/4 is cool as shit. Yeah. I'd be absolutely into it. And then you have guys like Porcupine Tree, who Ryan was on tour with over there, did that 9/8, Start of Something Beautiful. We'll play it in the end. Actually, I'll add it to the track. That'll be my track, Start of Something Beautiful. It's a 9/8 verse and a 5/4 chorus, dude. It's cool shit. I'll show you. Anyway, we're going to wrap this one up and get to the music here, because now I want to show you guys this song. Anybody else want to sign off with anything or any salutations?
I'm grateful to be here. I'm stoked. Thanks for having me.
Evan,
likewise.
Shout out.
Likewise.
Again. You got to show me how to use this thing, dude. He sent me a vortex detector that he made himself. Look at this thing. It's got compi all over it. How do you say multiple compasses? Compi or compasses?
Encompassed? I don't know. Damn it.
Ooh, it is encompassed. All right. Well, the future of me and my life hinges on this design. So let's check it out. Thank you, Evan. I'll call you to find out how that works properly.
You're
so we're
welcome.
not opening portals unintentionally.
Oh, it's just to detect them. That's all. I don't think. Hopefully, it doesn't open them. We'll see if you get special powers.
That's what the Orgonite does.
Oh yeah, couple it up.
Combined. You guys have sent me everything that I need to combine this stuff, and I've got reading for the trip as well. So thank you guys. I really appreciate
there you go.
that.
You got a little care package for yourself.
That's right. Good to go. I'll have Kate send me some rolled joints, because that was one of my favorite thing, was taking your hand rolled out on the trails out in Utah. I was like, ooh, you and Tori. That was one of my favorite memories, is both of you just sitting there and just going, here you go, guys. Y'all are amazing. Okay, love all around to everyone. And Alicia popped in there at the end. Hi. Good to see y'all. All right, we're going to cap this one, guys. All the ways to find everybody and our songs linked down below. Thank you so much, Frequency Theorists. See you next time.
Thank you, Brandon. Awesome.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you.